everyone. It is episode 188 of Recotopia. My name is Chris Atkinson, joined by Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And joined by Aaron Dicer.
Howdy ho, flower girl arenos.
Yes. And today's big recommend is Elevator to the Gallows. Elevator to the Gallows.
Gong, gong, gong.
That's right. We'd also like to welcome chat who have come out here to watch us talk about movies on a Tuesday, a little bit late because, yes, Comcast is a thing. Comcast is a thing for a reason. But welcome chat for coming out here. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you. Let's get on to our small recommends. And Aaron, what do you got?
Boy, oh boy, did I love Predator Badlands. I have to say, I try to admit my biases where I can. Dan Trachtenberg is an absolute bias for me. I have been following him well before he was a known director. He was a part of a show called The Totally Rad Show that was right on the cusp of like when the internet started giving us podcasts and video podcasts, and was one of the first video podcasts I ever watched. And it was just three guys talking about movies. I mean, you know, now every podcast is three guys talking about movies, it seems like, but including this one. But man, do I love Dan Trachtenberg. And even in those days, it was clear he thought deeply about how to make movies. And it's no surprise to me that he is now making really good movies. So on to the movie itself. It is so much more Spielbergian than I expected it to be. It doesn't feel like the first Predator. Like that could be seen in the rating. I think it's PG-13, not R. You know, that doesn't mean it's not violent. You can put a lot of violence in a PG-13 movie, and there certainly is predatory violence, or predator violence, I should say, in this movie. But it is also so focused on the character work of the Predator himself that I was blown away. This movie is tight, it's fast, it's fun. There's action, there's humor, and Elle Fanning brings a lot of it to life. I don't want to spoil a lot because there are some surprises and some fun through the movie, but man, did I have a great time with Predator goes to, you know, the Australia of planets. And tries to bring home a prize. So yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I want to see this. I'm way behind on everything after Prey. I know that's just two movies, but I haven't seen that animated one that came out earlier this year either. So need to see that and then see this. I guess I don't think you need to see the animated one to like
completely
this
unrelated.
One, right? Yeah.
There's not even like a wink or a nod to it, honestly.
Yeah. So I figured that was kind of sort of a tangential thing, but yeah, this has been on my list for a while. I've seen trailers for like the whole year, it feels like. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna make some time to watch this.
I'm both excited and nervous about the merging of the Wayland like alien stuff with. Like, it excites me, but we've done it before and it was bad. It was so bad. But this time we have somebody in Fede Alvarez and somebody over here in Trachtenberg controlling both franchises and doing a good job. And but I know there's supposed to be a lot of winks to like Wayland Corporation in this movie. And that both excites me and makes me nervous for the future, but I have heard mostly good things about Badlands. I'm excited.
You don't want any more AVP Requiem movies. That's what you don't want.
And I honestly, I don't think we're going to get that. If they do merge them again, I think it will be a much higher quality film.
Well, and you know, I wasn't necessarily going to mention because I didn't know that going in, and it was a huge surprise to me. And
sorry.
No, it's good. I think again, I don't know what people are usually know. It might be in the trailers for all I know.
Absolutely in the trailers.
Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't consider that a spoiler then for most people. But I will say that this movie handles it as just an acceptance that they're in the same universe. It's not making a big deal of, you know, what that is. It's just, oh yeah, these two things exist in the same universe and they intersect here in this way. And I think that's how it'll be going forward. Whereas Alien versus Predator was like Jason versus Freddy. It was just like, we're gonna force both these things into a battle with each other, you know, like, and yeah. So I think it's a little bit different now. It'll be interesting to see how that world building continues.
Yeah. And it did huge box office over the weekend too.
Yeah, I was
huge
glad to
surprise
see it.
to be a big hit too. So
about time something did huge box office.
Yeah, they were bracing themselves for that after August. They were already saying, well, we don't have anything good coming out. Let's come out with a bunch of old stuff and hope people will come see it. You know, They started doing that re-release strategy for the last 2 months. And then I think they expected a couple of other things to kind of hit along the way, but The Conjuring 3 or 4 or whatever did well. I think that was the last thing really did well. But that was like in September. So, Jeremy, what do you got?
I happened to see a movie a couple of days ago that I had not seen since it was first released, and I did not enjoy it the first time because I'm guessing I was just not in the right frame of mind. I can't remember why. I just remember that I shared a negative opinion about it on a previous podcast. But it's American Made, a 2017 Doug Liman film.
Oh, yeah.
With Tom Cruise, the lesser known Doug Liman, Tom Cruise collaboration. But this is based on a true story about a TWA pilot who was recruited by the CIA to be a courier to Noriega. I think it's Noriega. Now I'm talking out of my ass. Hang on. Noriega. All right. And then on one of these trips with his secret plane, he gets captured by the cartel, and they're like, hey, dude, why don't you take some cocaine back to America for us? And he's like, okay, I got a hole in the bottom of my plane. I'll just drop it in the bayou and you can have your people pick it up. I know, Aaron, you like competency porn movies. This movie is hustle competency porn because Tom Cruise just gets stuff thrown at him left and right. The CIA is like, why don't you take some guns down to these Contras? And he takes some guns to the Contras, but quickly realizes they don't want these guns. They just want money. So he starts selling the guns to the cartel. And it's just every punch that he takes, he spins away for himself to not only get out of it, but find a new hustle. And it's a film that has a lot of surprising humor. Tom Cruise is always magnetic and carries the movie. Donald Gleason is the CIA operative who recruits him, and his name is Schaefer. And there's a scene about 2/3 of the way through the movie where he's just dropped this bomb on Tom Cruise's character, and he starts walking away, and Tom Cruise goes, Schaefer. And Donald Gleason just goes, who the fuck is Schaefer? As he's walking away. And it's just a great line delivery. I really enjoyed it. I wish I could go back 8 years and ask myself what it was that I didn't enjoy. And I'll never be able to. But there you go. It's American Made. I watched it on one of the movie channels, but it's on Tubi right now if you want to watch it for free.
That that happens sometimes. You just you do watch a movie the first time and then come back and revisit it, and it's like, whoa, I must have just been in a bad mood that day or something.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I started a few years ago doing like 1 or 2 sentences about every movie I watch on Letterboxd, that kind of thing. Just so it's been so enlightening sometimes to go back and be like, wow, that's not how I feel anymore. Like it really shoves in your face like the human tendency towards narrative and just believing what you see through the experience you have in the moment. I also didn't much care for this when it came out. I think Tom Cruise is always fun, and I thought the movie was kind of fun, but it just kind of came and went in my mind. So I might have to go revisit it.
All right. I revisited a documentary, the the Oscar for Best Documentary 1996. It's When We Were Kings. The Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Rumble in the Jungle, and all the lead up to the fight, including showing part of the fight itself. And we simply don't have any athletes like Muhammad Ali anymore. If we do, we I guess they're suppressed because I don't think we would tolerate this kind of like braggadocious type of stuff anymore. On full display in this documentary as they lead up to this fight is Muhammad Ali talking all the trash and doing all the self-praise that one can do. This is a fight that takes place in Zaire, which is now Democratic Republic of Congo. But it tells us the story of how this fight came about. This is, I think, just after or shortly after he's been in jail for not going to Vietnam, and he's changed his name from Cassius Clay and all of that. And George Foreman is an absolute fearsome fighter who has demolished two boxers, and I right now can't remember who Muhammad Ali fought, but had trouble with those two guys, and Foreman just demolished them. And so like there's this idea that Muhammad Ali is walking into a fight that he cannot possibly win, no matter how much he brags about, you know, how good he is and whatever. But the movie does a really good job of not only setting that up, but setting up the political situation in the country they're going to. And then there's the delay that happens because Foreman gets cut during a sparring session that leads to even more fun discussion about Foreman, you know, trying to duck this fight and all this other type of stuff. But anyway, I love how this sets up the culture and sets up. It's got a lot of great interviews in it from Spike Lee, Norman Mailer shows up, George Plimpton. They all have like great insight into this fight and what it meant, and I just love also how they break down what Ali does in the ring with Foreman. And there's this whole like, what's the strategy going to be, and what is everybody planning on him to do? And I would say if you don't know what happens in this fight, don't look it up, because it's one of those things where I had forgotten, because Ali certainly lost his share of fights and he won a lot of them, of course, and whatever. So I was just kind of looking at this going, oh wow, okay, what's he gonna do? What is it? What's this fight gonna be like, and all that. And so that was sort of my how I went into this and everything. But this is a great documentary. It was very well deserved Oscar, I think, and just endlessly entertaining. And it's an hour and a half, so just a really good movie overall. So
it is on my list of shame. It is one I'm ashamed I haven't seen. I know it's really good, and I hope to pop it on sometime soon.
Double feature it with Ali, because that movie spends a lot of time on the time in Africa for this fight.
Yeah, during the same time. I just saw Christie, Sydney Sweeney boxer, real life boxer movie. And as I was watching, I actually thought of Ali, because he kind of changed that whole thing you're talking about. Like, boxing became synonymous with braggadocio, with all these kind of the entertainment of I'm going to kill you, take you down, kind of stuff. And it's that Christie character, the real life person, was also like that in her matches and her fights. So yeah, I thought of Ali a lot while watching that movie. So yeah, I really want to see this.
All right, let's get on to our big recommend, which is Elevator to the Gallows. And this was Aaron's pick. So Aaron, take it away.
All right, will do. Clearing my throat. All right, here we go. Elevator to the Gallows is a 1958 French noir and the directorial debut of 24-year-old Louis Malle. So clearly, if you haven't made a masterpiece yet and you're over 24, I'm sorry to say it's over for you. The movie starts with the zoomed-in closed eyes of Florence, played by the then mostly unknown Jean Moreau, talking to Julian about how much she loves him. We think maybe this is pillow talk and they're in bed together, but as we zoom out, it's revealed she's talking to him on the phone, from a payphone, in fact, about how daring he is for this unknown thing he is about to do. The credits then roll as she and Julian continue their conversation, and a slow fade shows Julian is in a large office building on a higher floor. As we get back to the conversation, it's clear that he has a job to do, and she will meet him after it's done at a local cafe. Julian then makes sure that the office operator will be sticking around and that no one will be disturbing him in his office, at which point he goes back into his office, puts on some gloves, and takes out a report, a gun, and a rope with a grapple hook on it. Also, grapple has a silent N in it, like it should be grapnel hook, and that's just infuriating. Sorry, I had to say that. Anyways, he walks around this office floor and then one-shots a perfect grapple toss to climb to the floor above. Once there, he sneaks in a window he must have left unlocked earlier to the upstairs lobby and buzzes to enter a very nice office, which apparently belongs to his boss. He hands him the report about Project Pipeline, but as the boss finishes reading the report, he realizes that Julian has a gun pointed at him. We find out that it is the boss's gun, in fact, and one strategic cut to a pencil being sharpened later, the deed is done. Surprisingly bloodless, but done nonetheless. Julian takes the report back, makes sure the door locks behind him, and heads back down to the office outside where his phone is ringing. He gets there just in time to answer the phone, and the perfect murder has been completed. Or has it? Turns out, oh no, he left the grappling hook in place, but honestly, how was he going to get that down anyway? I can't quite wrap my mind around how that was going to happen. As he's leaving, a young couple below see him and talk about wanting his life. He starts his car and is just about to leave when he notices his mistake still hanging on the railings. No worries, just a quick trip up there and the elevator should take care of everything. So he runs back inside. But before the elevator can reach its destination, the building's electricity is shut off by security, which is apparently a thing that they used to do. Julian is now trapped in the elevator and begins the process of figuring out what to do next. Meanwhile, the youngsters named Luis and Veronique decide to take Julian's running vehicle for a joyride, since he's clearly been held up in the building. They just happen to drive by the waiting Florence, who now thinks that Julian didn't have the guts to pull the trigger and that he is running away with the flower girl, as one does. Luis and Veronique, meanwhile, find a revolver and a spy camera in the glove box and start to wonder exactly what kind of shady stuff this Julian has been up to. Back in his tiny prison, Julian continues to try to find a way out. Using his lighter, he finds some screws and begins to dismantle the side paneling. He's able to see that he's stuck just below the door. He finds the release for the door above him, but there simply isn't enough room for him to escape that way. And since he doesn't quite have the reach to release the door below him, he is stuck. Florence is also trying to figure things out. She goes to the office, but it's gated. She asks around at Julian's places, and no one has seen him. She's confused and hurt. And hey, is that an old school pinball machine? I want that old school pinball machine. Sorry, I drifted away there for a second. No worry, I'm sure when I come back, Florence will still be moping around the city while Miles Davis and his trumpet improvise the score for all the some time. As night falls, Luis and Veronique are still cruising the highway and happen to spot a sexy BMW they tail for a while. They follow it all the way to a turnoff that leads to a motel where they rear-end the gorgeous car, and the German man driving gets out and has whatever the opposite of road rage is. Maybe street smiles, lane laughter, maybe garage giggles. I don't know. Anyhow, the Grand Theft Utes decide to check into the hotel as Mr. and Mrs. Julian Travenet, even though he is still actually stuck in the elevator, and she is probably still stuck walking around to bars looking forlorn. The imposters share some drinks with the German couple, except not Luis. He'd rather talk about war campaigns than drink warm champagnes. The ladies discuss the spy camera and notice it has 3 photos left. So why not take some photos? Who knows? The movie might need them later.
Yeah.
Back in the elevator, Julian is smoking a cigarette in a small enclosed space and doodling what looks to be a letter from the Zodiac Killer. After leaving the photos to be developed, the girls meet back up with the fellas, and the jovial German lets them know he's on to them. But he's not mad. He finds it all amusing. Back in the somehow not smoke-filled elevator, Julian finds and opens the elevator's bottom hatch and lights something on fire to see what we already knew. It's a long way down. He daringly decides to use the dangling elevator cable as a rope and tries to reach the lower door release again. And just as we think that he's about to do a Peter Pan right down this elevator shaft right here, night security shows up to do a check and drops his keys. Then, to make sure he's got all his keys back, he switches on the electricity, and the dangling Julian is now lowering down to an impending date at the Raspberry Pancake Factory. But the night guard saves his bacon by turning the electricity off again just in time. And just in case you were wondering, the movie makes sure we know that Florence is still wandering around the streets, desperately monologuing to herself and checking her forehead length in random mirrors. Back at the motel, Luis and Veronique decide to escape the motel at night, but Luis doesn't want to take Julian's car anymore. He wants to sneak off with the sexy piece he rear-ended the night before. Unfortunately for him, he's terrible with the clutch, and it wakes the cackling Kraut, who then pulls a gun on him. Luis then pulls Julian's revolver and shoots him and his wife 6 times and drives off with the car. They park it somewhere supposedly inconspicuous and walk back to Veronique's apartment, where they converse about their escape as tragic lovers and whether the police will eventually get them. Eventually, they decide death is the only option, so they put on some wax, and Veronique grabs her suicide kit that she's been saving for just this situation. Florence has now made her way to the police station, likely arrested for playing pinball, I'm guessing. While there, the police let her know that the homicide department is looking for Julian. She certainly thinks it might be for killing her husband, so she says she saw him in a car with a young woman, which confirms what the police actually wanted to hear, as they have him killing the German couple at 4 a.m. Will the elevator to the gallows now be an elevator to an alibi? Stay tuned. Jonathan, you can insert an ad break here for MeUndies or something. You know, put it here. Okay, back to it. The police are collecting evidence and trying to get a firm ID, but the eyewitnesses are having a rare case of avoiding confirmation bias and aren't sure that's the guy. But with all the other evidence, the detective goes full Poirot and declares with certainty that Julian did it so that the papers can have this info for the morning edition. Julian, of course, is still in the elevator at work. But the next morning, when the police come by, he's able to sneak out, not realizing they are here about a crime he didn't commit, not the one that he did. He leaves the building and his car is missing, and he wrongly assumes the cops took it for evidence. Eventually, Mr. Carlara's body is found, and the police now have discovered an apparent suicide while investigating the apparent homicide. Julian tries to call Florence and then orders a buttload of croissants, not realizing he's a front page suspect for a double murder. The police are called, and he is shortly arrested. During the following interrogation, Julian struggles to put together how the truths he's telling are somehow lies now, and the lies he's telling are somehow truths now. He finds out that his secret affair with the boss's wife isn't known, but also that she somehow identified him when he was in the elevator. He decides to come clean about being in the elevator, but no one will believe him. After Florence finds out Julian has been arrested, she decides she's going to attempt to save him. She finds out where Veronique lives from the flower shop and goes to check on her. Vero's door is open, thankfully, and she walks in to see her lying in the bed. Luis returns from the bathroom, hence the door being cracked, and she realizes the truth, that they stole the car and killed the Germans. She locks them in their own room and goes to tell the police. Unfortunately, she leaves the newspaper behind, so that Luis will now realize that he's not on the hook anymore. But the photos. Veronique still has the ticket to get them, so Luis takes it and uses the spare key that they have in the room to leave and go and get them. Florence, who is calling the police from a nearby payphone, sees him take off and decides to follow him. At the motel, when Luis gets there, he realizes, oh, this was a sting, and the photos were already developed, and the police already know he was the killer. Florence follows him in, and just when we think maybe she and Julian will be safe, the detective shows her the other photos that were on the roll, proving that she and Julian were canoodling. And the same photo roll that exonerated the man she loved of one crime has all of the sudden convicted him of the other crime of killing her husband. As the detective explains that he'll only likely get 10 years for the murder, but that she'll likely likely get much more as the accomplice, she seems kind of okay with it, knowing that at least they will be in it together, because he's no longer working for the boss man, working for the company, and she's his girl like an open book to read between the lines. And they will indeed be living it up while they are going down for this, because nothing is stronger than love and an elevator. And that is Elevator to the Gallows. Chris, Jeremy.
Fucking Christ.
What'd you think about it this time through?
All right. So to me, no one is innocent in this movie. This is one of those movies where it's basically movie justice. Like I'm not saying here I am advocating for vigilante justice or anything like that, but this movie has got these people must pay on its mind. And the first person who dies in this is an absolute monster from what I can tell behind the scenes. Is an arms dealer, is a war profiteer. He's really excited about the fact that France is getting in all these wars. And so, yes, in the eyes of the law or whatever, he's innocent, but not in the eyes of this movie. He's not. And France, the Algerian War gets sort of, there's no getting away from it during this period of time. That war went on from, I think, 1954 to 1962, which means they're right in the middle of it during the time this movie comes out. So there's a lot going on here. That war became very unpopular after a while. That was Algerians fighting for their independence. It was a decolonization thing. And so I do believe that the first victim in this is one that the movie just deems as a monster and probably should be killed. But the person who does the killing also doesn't get off scot-free. You don't get to just kill people and get away with it. And a lot of the time this movie makes it a point that you're never going to get away with it. In fact, the entire thing about him being stuck in the elevator, to me, has a sort of an overbroad symbolism of what's going on in the movie itself. No matter how many times he thinks he's got an escape, he doesn't have an escape. You can't escape from your crimes, is what it's saying. And so, like, just think about how many times, it doesn't matter at what point in time he gets out of the elevator, he would have gotten away with all of this. Because if he gets out before 4 o'clock and he meets his girl and they're like, well, I don't know where the car is, but let's get the hell out of here. They have an alibi, but he stays in there the entire night. And then all these other crimes happen in his name while he's in the elevator. Of course, the young couple are not innocent of crimes, and they would be fine too if it wasn't for the fact that they had to go and try to steal this guy's Mercedes. And that's the one that I sat there and I tried to figure out for a while. And I don't know if this is what the movie is saying, but I'm going to go ahead and extrapolate anyway. The Germans in this movie are driving a Mercedes, and Mercedes was very clearly helping Hitler out in World War II. They're one of those big sort of like, German car brands that were helping the war effort and everything. And even the French company, the Renault car, that's also a part of this, the Renault auto manufacturer was a part of the World War II effort for Germany as well. So a lot of this, to me, sort of like, there's a very specific reason why these brands of cars are in here. We don't hear what the German couple did. Now, for all I know, they are just happy German tourists. But you also have to sit here and wonder what they may have done in their lives for a guy to be able to go and try to steal a car and he be so excited or jovial about it when he comes out and sees this kid stealing his car and everything. So I feel like almost everybody who dies or gets punished in this has done something. And so that's what the movie is saying. You have to pay for whatever you've done. And that's just one of the things that just kept going through. I watched this movie twice over the weekend, and And the first time I watched it, I was just enjoying the little plot threads of it, where just the tiniest of things happen that bring this plot, move this plot forward. I agree. That's the one thing I can't figure out, is how he's supposed to get that grappling hook off.
Yeah, what was the plan? Yeah, what was the
So like
plan?
when he climbs down, he's gonna have to climb up a little bit, I think, and then jump down or something. I don't know how it works. So that's always going to be a problem for him in this plot. But that said, he sees the hook from down below. He doesn't remember it because the phone rings. I think that's what they're trying to say. The phone rings and he's distracted, so he goes to answer the phone when normally he'd be doing whatever it was he was supposed to do to get that grappling hook off. But he turns on his car. He talk about hubris, man. This guy's parked illegally. He turns on the car and he just leaves it running and just goes in there to try to get that hook back. And then of course you've got a guy who wants to impress his girl. The girl is sitting there talking about, well, look at this Travagnier. He's so smart. He's so handsome. Look at him. Now look at that car. Look at all that money he makes now, all that stuff. And so now it's like, I can just make that car mine. The guy did turn the key or whatever, push the button, whatever he did, he turned the car on and takes it on a joyride. And then of course, the lover sees the car drive away, like a very Great Gatsby type of thing, sees the car, associates it with the man, thinks that's the person that she's in love with. So yeah, that was one thing that I got into. But then then the second time around watching this, just I felt like there was a lot of things where people are just answering for what they've been doing throughout the whole thing. There's a very good reason why the characters are what they are in this. The warlord and all these different things that are going on. So that was an interesting trip watching it the second time and sort of seeing how everything fit into that hypothesis that I made for it. But overall, this is such a stunningly good movie. Hour and a half, does everything it needs to. There's even parts that you could say are somewhat like go on too long a couple of times in this, even though it's an hour and a half. But for the most part, pretty tight overall. I do love the part where Jean Moreau is walking and not caring about anything, doesn't care about the rain, doesn't care about the traffic. At one point, I thought the movie was making a point about how she literally stops traffic, that she's so beautiful and whatever. But it really is just the fact that she doesn't care whether or not she's hit or not, or she thinks so lowly of everybody else. How dare you run over me? Nobody's going to have, but she's just singularly focused on finding this guy. She doesn't care what happens during the entire time that she's walking through this town. It's kind of mesmerizing watching her in her quest, trying to find the guy. So yeah, I love this movie. I've seen it now 4 times, and it's definitely like an all-timer for me at this point.
She's so good in this movie, and it's, I think, most often when she's not even speaking, like that walking scene. But then there's that scene where the police say the name of her lover, and the way the actress plays that moment to where we can tell she's twitched, but the police officer can't. It's so perfect. I think very few people could pull that off in that beat. I rewound it and watched it again. I was so impressed with that moment.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying about, you can't escape your crimes. I was thinking more, you can't escape your past, but I think they're really the same kind of message, the same kind of theme, that your actions will have consequences, good or bad. I went into this movie expecting 90% of it would be in the elevator. like that Ryan Reynolds movie in the dairy. And so there was a moment early on where I was like, why are we spending so much time listening to this flower girl talk to her boyfriend? And of course, they are important characters in the story, and the elevator is not 90% of the film, which is, I think, ultimately better. I think everybody in the movie needs to stop touching other people's cars. Julian's car, what's the woman actress or the main actress's name, or
Jean Moreau.
She's touching cars along the street when she's looking at herself in the mirror and reflection. I just wrote down, stop touching cars. I love a movie that has minimal dialogue and seems to actively choose to avoid dialogue wherever it can. And this felt like that kind of movie to me. I can just sit and steep in that kind of. Now, if you got Miles Davis giving me, legendary one take noir score, that's going to help. But I love how sparse the dialogue was here. For us to understand what's happening, all we really had to do in most cases was look. I can't believe that dude actually opened up the bottom of the elevator and climbed down there. That is one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life. I don't care if I'm facing prison forever. I am not dangling out of the bottom of that freaking elevator.
Do we think, by the way, that he may be able to get out of the elevator if he's in the elevator when the guy turns the power back on? Do we think that
so?
It's one of those things that, again, the movie keeps doing, where it's like, if only you had just done this one thing, or if you had had the foresight of this one thing, you would have been out of this situation or whatever. But anyway.
Right. That German guy went through 3 bottles of champagne basically on his own. And that is, I'm not even mad. That's impressive. He didn't have a gun, right? When they're stealing his car.
No, that could not have been a gun.
I don't know why he's holding it like it's a gun, but that's why he's dead. If he just had hands and nothing in them, I don't think that kid gets terrified and shoots him.
I think it's like a cigarette or a cigar or something like that, and he makes the kid so nervous that he thinks it is a gun, or he's already nervous as it is.
And I thought it was a gun. I guess I didn't look closely.
He's holding it very weird. Like there's no handle underneath, like the way he's it just looks like a little tube. And I don't know, maybe there is a gun that's like that, but it did not. Considering the gun that he has, the kid has, I don't know. It's very clearly a gun, so it's not like it was they didn't have the money to get a gun for the other guy,
right?
So yeah.
I also felt like I'm always not felt like I was reminded of the Aesop's fable with the crow that has something in its beak and sees its reflection and drops the thing to try and get the other thing, because these people have stolen a car and joyrided all night, got drunk with jovial Germans, and they're good. They can just go, drop the car off somewhere, go home, you're scot-free. But they couldn't resist grabbing that extra thing, and it cost them everything. I also wrote, this movie is like the criminal murder version of Gift of the Magi, where everybody keeps fucking up everybody else's shit, even when they're trying to be helpful. And I love that it ends with everybody losing. I love that there's no winner, and I don't think there deserves to be any winner in this movie. Like you said, they're all bad people, and they all probably deserve some measure of what they got eventually.
One thing I do wonder about her at the end is that, they caught her in the lie that, she didn't know Julian, but she could have simply just been lying because she didn't want the affair to be found out. I don't know how they know about her involvement in the killing.
My only suspicion
that was my only thing.
Did
they get fingerprints off that grappling hook?
My guess is that's just all off camera. We're just supposed to be, and the police figured it out. We aren't given I didn't see the proof in the movie. I think it's just it's a strong ending, I think, and so it just they wanted to end there.
Yeah, for him they can find a whole bunch of stuff, but for her, I'm not sure, unless there's written things on that says, hey, we're plotting to kill my husband. Here's number one. This is what we do.
Why does she get a longer prison sentence than he does?
Well, he intimates that it's because the jury will be harder on her as a woman, teasing him, tempting him to do this thing than they will be on the actual man. So I think there's some misogyny intimated.
I'm not saying they shouldn't get equal time, but he pulled the trigger for
yeah, yeah, exactly. That was definitely a big question I had at the end. Was like all the justice being meted out at the end of this movie. Like that's a different take on how people solve crimes than I'm used to, but maybe there was something different in the 60s. Maybe it's different because it's France, or 50s actually at this point. And maybe it's because it's different because it's France. Because after all, after watching, what's the Fall movie? What's that movie that came out a couple years ago about the Fall, where we don't know anything, we don't know how it happened, but everybody's got a different story.
Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of a Fall. The court system in that movie is completely different from anything we're used to in the States. So
it's true.
Maybe it is different, but maybe it's just movie. It's just answer is movie to the it's like you get a harsher sentence for some reason because movie. So there you go.
Man, did I love this this time through again. I was picking up new things. The main thematic thing I picked up this time that I just saw as a surface thing the first time was the idea the movie has about how desperate love is. Like this idea, it paints, she is our protagonist. Like we start with her, we end with her. Like Julian does a lot of the work, but the movie I think is about her. Yep. And her at the beginning, the way she's talking to him, she says something, I wrote it down, without your voice, I'd be lost in a land of silence. And then when she thinks that he has abandoned her, she's lost in a land of silence. Like, like it sets that up. And I think there are so many lines and moments that feel to me this time through to be about her. I'm going to use the word codependency, but the idea that she loves him so much that she would do anything. And that's how the movie ends, basically with her saying, I love him so much that I'm okay getting twice as many years as he does, that the truth of us, being together is worth whatever the consequences are, or what, I forget the exact quotes that she used there. But so the movie really seems to be not only about everybody getting their just desserts, but also about how compelling this human need for companionship and love is, and how it drives us. And so I was more aware of that stuff through this time. I would
probably it's interesting. I interpreted that phone call in the beginning as more of like that honeymoon phase, like lust,
infatuation.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. More than true love, but then the end of the movie comes around.
I'm actually using love as a stand-in for the infatuation-like feelings that come along for it. Yeah, come along with it. So yeah, the other thing that I love about this, it's very Hitchcockian with the perfect murder stuff. And I love movies that are like, okay, we're going to do the perfect murder. And then you just watch it fall apart. In fact, I think there was a movie called Perfect Murder eventually that uses this format.
Well, there's a remake of Dial M for Murder with Michael Douglas.
Which is Hitchcock's ultimate example of this, format.
See, that was a thing where you say something, Aaron, and I didn't know if you were just joking or not. What was that movie with that perfect murder in it? It had a perfect murder. I can't remember, but it had a perfect murder in it.
The murder in it, I feel like, was perfect.
Right.
But I just can't remember what the movie was called.
Exactly. So the bus's speed can't go over 50, and then the bus's speed must always stay there. I think it was called The Little Bus That Couldn't Slow Down.
But I love that stuff, and it's one of the reasons I love Hitchcock is he was fascinated with this idea that there will always be an unseen detail that will be missed, something will go wrong, that there is not a perfect murder, and in this case, it's a little more obvious than, most of these kind of movies. The grappling hook or whatever, feels pretty blatant, but I still loved a lot of that stuff. There's a couple things I wanted to discuss. One was the black cat, which is a very clear, purposeful insert shot as he's doing the perfect, murder. And I think we're just supposed to think, okay, now it's all going to go bad.
Mm-hmm.
But is the movie at all suggesting something mystical there? Or, what is this black cat doing that high up on the building? Or is it just metaphor?
Yeah, I think so. I think in this era of French filmmaking, I don't think they're being all that subtle about it. I think it's pretty much like, yeah, this is a bad luck thing. This is a bad luck symbol.
Yeah.
The bad luck symbol,
Yeah. Then the other thing, I could have just missed what was going on, but I'm confused about the scene where she goes to the gate to the office and is interrupted by a little girl. And I think the little girl takes a grappling hook, has a grappling hook when she leaves.
I don't know.
Okay, if you guys don't remember that, maybe I made it up in my brain.
I remember the little girl, but I don't remember anything else about that.
I could I'm going to go back and rewatch then, because I was like, what? Wait, is the movie saying somehow that fell down and now that piece of evidence isn't there, or what? But
because if it had fallen down, that's a huge. Let's send this movie right now.
I'm going to go back and see, because it feels like she was holding something. And if not, what is the girl's purpose there? That scene confused me a little bit. So I kind of want to go back and watch it and kind of suss out what I feel like the purpose of that meeting is with that little girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know either. And it's not like if she doesn't show up, then she's able to just go into the building and find Julian or anything like that. It's not like an interruption that prevents her from doing what she's trying to do. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I just completely whiffed on that, and she was holding a grappling hook, and it did somehow fall down in the rain or something like that.
I don't know.
The thunderstorm or whatever. But no.
So, yeah, I mean, watch it again if you'd like. But the internet says that the little girl is definitely carrying that grappling hook.
Oh, all right.
That's okay, wild, now man. If that's the truth, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how the hook
or what it means. Or what it means to the movie. It doesn't seem to mean anything to
it. Doesn't really mean much. Yeah,
I'm just kind of confused by that a little bit.
Other than if you had just not noticed it, then it would have fallen on its own and you would have been able to get away with it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can really come up with. Or maybe it's just a fun in joke for really eagle-eyed viewers or something. So
yeah. Interesting. Yeah, there is an element to the movie where that happens in these kind of movies where the person is responding to something that wouldn't necessarily be a problem and thereby creating all these new problems. That is a trope that does happen in these kind of movies. So yeah, that's interesting. It said the dominoes of it all.
See, now, I've just watched this movie twice, and now there's this thing that I'm going to have to pop this movie back in for, because if she is holding that grappling hook, that's going to change not a lot of things, but it's going to make me look at this movie in another different light that I was not expecting.
I think what it's saying is that everyone has a grappling hook in their own way.
Yeah, really, the grappling hooks are the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. It's true. It's so true.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Let's get on to our super secret double feature. I went with actually I had two movies in mind that we have done as big recommends. The one I decided on was Ruthless People. Mainly because information that characters don't have throughout the entire movie forms the plot for the movie, and little things lead to even bigger things all the way through it. And so that one to me was a pretty good one for this one, so that's what I ended up on. I'll tell you the other one I had after Jeremy is done with his.
I also had two, but my main one I settled on was it's pretty close to hitting the nail on the head in terms of maybe too close. But this is a lesser seen, lesser known movie. And so I thought I'd expose more people to it, even though it's not great. I just think it's good. But that's 2023's Inside with Willem Dafoe, where he plays an art thief who breaks into a high-end condo to steal some paintings. And when he tries to leave, he sets off the security and it locks him in the penthouse. And the owner is not coming back for months, and the thermostat breaks. And so it's either burning hot or freezing cold and other things as he tries to escape. And he's in there the whole movie. It's not the same. It is what I expected Elevator to the Gallows to be, 90% of it him being stuck in the elevator. Yeah, I think that's thematically similar enough that, you know, crime could go wrong, probably will, and you're going to have to pay for it. So yeah, I don't even know where that's watchable. I saw it more than
Peacock.
a year ago. It's on Peacock. Excellent. So yeah, Inside 2023 from a director named Vasilis Katsoupsis.
Oh, yes, of course.
Household name.
What was the other one that you had?
Oh, Panic Room, just for vibes.
Oh, for vibes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
The other one that I had was Election, because of the same sort of deals going on in Election. A lot of really small things, decisions that people make end up becoming huge by the end of the movie. Just like, you know, everything in that movie is like, if somebody just does one other thing by the end of it, then Matthew Broderick isn't in trouble.
I mean, it's in the very beginning of the movie when he makes that janitor clean up. Nice, Aaron. Makes the janitor clean up that crap, and then that's the reason he falls at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So that was another one that I thought of as a kind of a, like, maybe not tonally Ruthless People or Election would go along with this, but as far as plotting is concerned, where the small things matter so much, I thought about those movies a lot. There is one in the chat too, another one that crossed my mind. Nolan said La Samurai, which is another great film. If you've never seen that before, I suggest you immediately watch it. Like, put everything down and watch it. That was one I actually thought of too, but ended up on the other ones. But it's another great one for sure. All right. Next week's homework. It is my turn to pick. I am picking a movie that I think all three of us enjoy, and maybe doesn't fit what I think of when I think of this podcast, trying to find movies that maybe you haven't seen before or whatever, but still, I think it's a very enjoyable one, and I'd like to go over it in this format. And it's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh my!
And I know that this is a favorite of Jeremy's. I don't know about you, Aaron. I know that you love it. I know you love it, but I don't think I've ever heard you talk about it. But Steve Martin, Michael Caine, Glenna Headley, and this is comedy gold. I don't, talk about, they don't make them like that anymore. This is just, I mean, this is entertaining and funny throughout. You just don't see these kind of movies.
I'm not certain if my parents had ever watched this all the way through, that this would have been a movie I was permitted to watch. Because I was 13 when this movie came out. And I saw it several times in high school. But yeah, this is one of those movies from my childhood, growing up years, that I watched over and over and over again. I can't wait to Recotopia this thing and dissect it in a new way.
Yeah.
Ruprecht, do you want the genital cuff?
There's so many quotable lines.
Yeah, it's like the whole movie is just quotable lines. I think technically this was a remake of something that came out 20 something years before, maybe. But I don't think that movie was like this really, but it's got the same kind of, I don't know. I need to see that. I need to see the movie that came out before this one and see how it compares.
You don't
with
need to
this
see the one that came out after this one with Anne Hathaway.
Oh no, I don't need to see that one. Not that for sure. But yeah. Can't wait to get into that one. All right. That's going to do it for this week. Chat, once again, thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it. It was later than usual today. And internet problems, man. What are you going to do? How do they work? Magnets, how do they work? And so appreciate you guys coming out today. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you next time. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.